on dams, rivers, and people, and member trustee, River Research Center, Kerala. I request Dr. Shashikant Hazare sir, Principal, Army Law College, Pune, to felicitate Parineeta Dandekar ma'am.
So much, ma'am.
Yes. 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 Now I will request Dr. Kranti Deshmukh ma'am, Principal, Marathwada Mitra Mandal Shankarrao Chavan Law College, to say few words as a part of welcome speech of this interview session. Kranti ma'am, over to you.
Dr. Pratap Salunke sir, I hope you all can hear me. You can hear me?
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
okay.
Yes,
very
yes.
good
Yes,
morning
ma'am.
to all. Yeah, thank you. Very good morning to all. Miss Parineeta Dandekar madam, Associate Coordinator, South Asian Network on Dams, Rivers and People. Dr. Shashikant Hazare sir, Principal, Law College. Pratap sir, who is the program happened. Saurabh Ubale sir, who have coordinated program from Shankarrao Chavan Law College. Teaching staff and non-teaching staff of Army Law College and Shankarrao Chavan Law College. And last but not the least, students of both the institutes. I extend my warm welcome to one and all on behalf of Army Law College and Shankarrao Chavan Law College. At the outset, I would like to convey my heartfelt thanks to Army Law College and especially to Dr. Shashikant Hazare sir for conducting this program jointly. I'll take few minutes to introduce our Shankarrao Chavan Law College. Shankarrao Chavan Law College is established in the year 2003, and in very short span of time, the Law College became a renowned place for learning law. Many passed out students of this college, they are working in the capacity of judge. Many are working in corporate sectors and many are in litigation also. We are offering postgraduate and graduate programs in law, and the law college is accredited with A grade in its very first cycle of NAC accreditation. So I won't take without much time for introducing our institute. We will directly jump on today's theme of the program. Presently, we are also celebrating Human Rights Week in Shankarrao Chavan Law College. When we talk about Human Rights Week or human rights, for human beings to live life with dignity, natural resources are must, and water is most important factor. We can foresee the scarcity of water for coming generations. Human beings can create anything, but they cannot create water. We have to preserve water. And from this point of view, we should see today's day, that is World Water Day. Basically, celebration of this day aims at conserving water and its values, create awareness about water and its resources, which are crucial for the survival of living beings on earth. So this is very important topic, and I would like to congratulate both institutes, organizers and coordinators for selecting such an important theme for today's program. I'm very happy that Parineeta ma'am is with us, one of the eminent person available on this particular topic. So without wasting much time, ma'am, we are very eager to listen to you, and once again extend my warm to you all. Thank you so much, Pratap sir. Over to you.
As a part of this interview,
I also introduce Pratik Salgar, who will be conducting interview with me. He is a contributory faculty in Marathwada Mitramandal Shankarrao Chavan Law College, and who is also research scholar. And his topic is groundwater management. So we have expert on this particular subject as well as a research scholar on this subject. So with the permission of both the institutes, we will start the session. Pratik.
Thank you, Pratap sir, for the kind words. I would like to introduce Mrs. Parineeta Dandekar first. She has completed her Bachelor of Science and she is gold medalist. And she has completed her Master of Science in Environmental Science. She has completed certificate course in basic management from UNESCO, Aichi University, and Hohai University, China. And she was the fellowship student in Diploma in Integrated Water Resources Management from United Nations University and Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok. She has been featured in the book named 10 Indian Champions Who Are Fighting to Save the Planet, which is written by Bijal Vacharajani and Radha Ranganathan. She had been a keynote speaker and international guest at Water and Wisdom Australia India Symposium held by RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia in 2018. She is awarded with Durga Samman by Lok Satta Papers Indian Express Group in 2018. Also, she has been awarded with Vasundhara Mitra Award in 2018 for her work in river protection and restoration. Again, she was awarded with Star Prava Ratna Award in 2016. She is a recipient of Joke Waller Hunter Environment Leadership Fellowship in Netherlands. She has been engaged with many governmental bodies. Just few to mention, she was the member of subgroup on environmental laws of Maharashtra Water Resources Regulatory Authority, Government of Maharashtra. She was the member of Mumbai High Court appointed committee, which was looking at the channelization and concretization of small rivers in Pune city. She was invited to present the findings to a parliamentary standing committee of the lower house of Indian Parliament in New Delhi. Also, she presents invited lectures to the officials of Comptroller and Auditor General of Government of India, that is CAG, about integrating perspectives from environment, wetlands, rivers in India. And right now, she is Associate Coordinator at South Asia Network on Dams, Rivers and People, which is uniquely placed water resources watchdog, which is working in the world. So ultimately, when I gone through her research work and whatever social work she's doing for river rejuvenation, I just like to mention that she's a living lifeline of the rivers and she's hardly striving for rebirth of the rivers. So I welcome you to this interview session and we would, in discussion, we would like to hear from some of the opinions, like we will try to understand what problems we are facing with and what kind of the solutions we can have for the integrated water management forum. So before starting with the interview, I will firstly would like to know childhood, the schooling and the higher education and how you got attracted towards this particular field of the water management and the river rejuvenation.
Thank you, Pratik. After listening to Pratik, I realized that I should never have sent him my CV. because frankly, most of these things mean nothing. What really matters is what you actually work on ground and how you work with the people. So it was very embarrassing to listen to all. It just reminds me that, most of them are empty words. But so you asked me about my childhood and stuff. Well, everyone around us, all of the people that I'm seeing here right now, everyone has a story with water or the river. There's not, I'm yet to meet a person who does not have a water story to share. Everyone has one, or a river story to share. everyone has a story of a river which flows in their city, or they at least have a story of no river flowing in their city, but they always have a story. So the question is not why I started working in water. The question is why are we not all working in water? Because, and I think we all are. It's not like space sciences. For example, I don't have any opinion with space sciences, but I'm sure everyone here has some other opinion about water. They have some other understanding about water. That's very important. I was born in Nasik. Nasik is at the origin of Godavari, which is the longest river in the peninsula of India. It originates from Nasik and then flows from Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and then also parts of, and then meets the Bay of Bengal. So, in Nasik, I realized that it was Godavari after some time because we have this very amazing system in India of calling every river Ganga. So
Yes.
I knew that I live on the banks of Ganga. It's a while to understand that this river is called Godavari. And then, like all rivers, it was very beautiful and very polluted. So it had a lot of things to love about and also a lot of problems. I always like to recall a very particularly gross problem that happened. Entire Nasik, I think I was in 7th standard at that time, and entire Nasik had received extremely smelly, disgusting water. And no one knew why. And I asked my father, what's happening? So he said, why don't you go and look at the river? And I actually went and looked at the river and we realized that just above the water purification pump line, there was this dead buffalo floating around in the river. Very beautiful patch of the river. And so I think we slowly realized that we are not separate from our rivers, and especially because some of the students here are from the army
Law college.
They've been all over the country. Most of them know, and so people from West Bengal, from Northeast, from Kerala, they actually live with rivers. So actually, I would also like to know some of their perspectives. I think it will be difficult in this sort of an interview. I wish she was sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
I could have learned and talked a lot about it. But so I think I decided. I don't know, but I had always decided that I would work with rivers. My father played a huge role in that decision. And so I completed my master's in environmental sciences. From there, I went on to take I wanted to study rivers and environmental sciences. When I was studying, it was all about pollution control and how to make it easier for factories to get clear rivers. So it had hardly anything to do with ecology or rivers especially. Everything to do with rivers was to do with water pollution. So any love that you might have for rivers, it was ensured that it's killed. So, but yes, so from there I studied integrated river basin management. I had a great fortune of working with Vijay Paranspe from Gomu, who's working with Bhima River Basin, which is where we are sitting right now. We're right at the headwaters. We are literally at the headwaters. Right on the right-hand side is the water divide. It divides the Deccan from the home country, 60 feet from here. So we are right at the beginning of Bhima River Basin. And so it all started, and I think, frankly, I think I'm pretty boring. I never wanted to do anything else.
That may be the inspiring point for you to start work upon that thing, maybe.
Yeah. I think the river itself is an inspiration.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I think it's always been an inspiration. And I think that just 3 days back, I saw a person called Shailendra Patel. He's maybe 70 years old. And I saw this small old man actually worshipping with spring, standing surrounded by garbage dumps and huge buildings and pigs and dogs. And he was worshipping a small stream which he has protected for more than 7 years now.
Yeah.
So I think inspiration is everywhere. And the whole point is rivers, Indian rivers are not dead. They are very much alive. They are very beautiful. They need your help. They need your help not because they are in trouble, but because we are in trouble. So I guess that's the only inspiration. And also the, people like Meghatai, at
Hmm.
that time, Nasik and Nandurbar was a big center also of Pratap Salunke.
Yes.
I've heard her for, a few times, and that whole thing of river. The more you hear it, the more you start loving it.
Yes, obvious thing. So as a part of your research and your study, you have studied number of the rivers across India, across the world, and the ecology of the rivers and the various cultures which are developed in those particular river basins and all those things. So special characteristics of the river or the special characteristics of the culture, those do reflect in the names of the rivers. Okay, so I would like to throw light upon that part. That just give us some examples of the rivers which do reflect the characteristics of the rivers or any special names you have that fascinating information with you. So please.
No, it actually is a very fascinating thing. We all know Ganga. We all know that there is Ganga everywhere. There are, in Uttarakhand, look at the sort of understanding that we have. In Uttarakhand, most of the rivers have Ganga. There is Neel Ganga, Budi Ganga. There is, most of the rivers have Ganga as a suffix to their name.
Suffix to it. Okay.
The reason is because all of these rivers actually flow into Ganga.
Oh.
These actually are all Gangas. And then you also have Gangas in southern India. Godavari is Dakshina Vahini Ganga. And so I was fascinated with Ganga. What Ganga actually means, the root of Ganga is Gangachiti. That is
Okay.
that which flows.
Okay.
So Ganga is something that flows.
Floats.
Which
Okay.
brings us to the word Nadi.
Nadi.
Nadi actually is, in Atharva Ved, Nadi is actually the dhatu or the root of Nadi is Nad.
Nag. Oh.
That thing which makes noise.
Nice.
And you can only make that rumbling noise if there is flow.
Yeah.
The river is equal to flow. If it is not flowing, it's not a river. Dams are not rivers. So, it's very interesting. And then the sound of flow actually has many names. So Dibong, that's the river in Arunachal Pradesh. It means Di is water and Bong is the noise that it makes.
Oh.
Simsang is the river in Meghalaya. Simsang it's a very sweet river, it makes very sweet sound of noise. So it's Simsang. In Maharashtra, you have a river Gadgadi. Gadgadi is the roaring sound.
Okay.
It makes a roaring sound because when it flows and floods, it brings stones with it.
Oh.
Huge waterfall, so it's Gadgadi. So these are some of the characteristics. Just yesterday, I read a beautiful article on Saudar in Maharashtra. It's one of the first movements to ensure drinking water rights to so-called untouchables, and not too far back. It's really surprising that, and more that we know that water is not an ecological issue; it is basically a human rights issue. And the writer here written something very important, that rivers which have excessively, Sanskritized names, like Savitri, Abhimashini, Payaswini, they have this tradition of discrimination. On the other hand, there are rivers with very colloquial names. Now, these colloquial names many times reflect the true nature of the river. For example, in Maharashtra, we have rivers like Waghadi, Datpadi, Mode. So, what does this mean? When those rivers flow, they can break your teeth, they can break your back, and it actually reflects the swabhav of the river. In Gujarat, there are rivers called Bukhi, Sukhi. Also, a river called Utavali, because when it gets a lot of water, it floods.
Okay.
But not only rivers, we also have names for the seas.
Oh.
We have where Ganga meets, that I think reflects a lot of immense ecological understanding. Where Ganga meets Bay of Bengal, Bay of Bengal is actually called as Ganga Sagar. Where Sindhu meets, the Arabian Sea, the sea is actually called as Sindhu Sagar. river, then Sindhu, which is the sea. You know, that's the, and this again is a characteristic in most of the discussions. There's a Russian folk tale. Some of you may remember that a little girl's mother gets lost, and they ask her, "How's your mother? Describe your mother." And she said, "My mother is the most beautiful woman in the world." And when they actually find the woman, she's a nice looking but a plain looking woman. But for the girl, she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Similarly, most of our river names mean the greatest river in the world. We have Mahanadi, we have Mississippi, we have Rhine, which is the running one, we have Okavango. So all of them mean, big rivers, the biggest rivers in the world. So I guess it is our ethos which becomes the mother river, the biggest river. So I guess it is our ethos which gets reflected. Then there is also the ecological characteristics of the rivers which are reflected in the names. For example, Shatadru or Satluj means a river which flows in 100 ways. Then you have a river called Chandrabhaga, Chandrabhaga, Chandrabhag. Joins a body, but further it is called Chenab. The same river becomes Chenab. And what do I do? Okay, I take it up. Okay, okay. Oh. Yeah, I always move a lot and it causes problem. Is this any better? Is this, is this better? Can you hear me? Let us continue.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Flow of our discussion.
so basically, Chandrabhaga is this, Chandra and Bhaga. But the same river is also called as Chenab. Chen is Chandra and Ab is water. So part of the moon, again, the same thing. So I think river names in itself is a very, very fascinating field of study. The colloquial names reflect the nature of the river, whereas the Sanskritized names are just about, just how beautiful or how much punya that you are going to earn after. They sound very nice, but they don't mean much. It's like, it's like a child who has, in Bengal, they have a name and then a dark naam. So a name that you use only in the house. That name sometimes is very true to the nature of the child.
Yes.
Whereas the name that you put in school is just it's a very vast subject and I'll keep on talking about it.
In one of your interviews, I heard about atmospheric river.
Yeah.
So that part and different types of rivers. So
Okay.
will you elaborate on?
Right. So different types of rivers. In Maharashtra itself, we have 5 major river basins, and each river basin is a different type. So, for example, I'm just sitting right here. On the right is the Konkan water divide. If you go to the other side, there are rivers which are so tiny. They don't even flow for 200 kilometers. They flow for about 100 kilometers, 150 kilometers. But their entire annual yield, that is the water that that flows through them throughout the year, is 45% of the entire amount of water in Maharashtra. Small slip of land. Whereas Godavari, which is so huge, it covers, geographically, it covers most of the area of Maharashtra, hardly has, a contribution like that. So there is a big difference between the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers. The Himalayan rivers are the rivers which originate in Himalayas. They flood twice. So once is the monsoon flood and then it's a summer flood. When the glaciers melt. So then there are rivers which flow from the hill slopes like the Konkan rivers. They flood highly after the rains. and then they dry out very soon. Because that's how the water flows. But then there are big rivers like Ganga, which flows through the forests. It's a very steady river because it's so big. It has bigger tributaries, so it's a slow-moving, well-endowed sort of river. So there are different kinds of rivers, but atmospheric river, that you said, is basically it's the moisture plume that is in the air.
Okay.
It is which is in the atmosphere, and in many of our sacred texts, Ganga is called as Tripathaga.
Okay.
Tripathaga means the one who takes three routes.
Oh.
And in Ganga, I mean, there is of course this very mythological description.
Yes.
But what I think is it's very interesting because all rivers have this. One is the moisture, that is the atmosphere that is there. Second is the surface flow, and third is the groundwater, which also contributes to the river.
Okay.
Now, atmospheric rivers is a completely different thing. It is a huge moisture plume which is very common in the Pacific or to the western coasts. And sometimes these atmospheric rivers can be thousands of kilometers long.
Oh.
And they can actually hold water more than Amazon.
Oh.
So it's and they cause floods. They are affected deeply by climate change. So I think there is much more to rivers than what we see. But yes. And I'm happy that these are the rivers in the sky which you can hardly see, so you can not pollute them or build dams there. At least right now.
So in many European countries, including small countries, the river water is very pure and potable, which they have consistently maintained the quality of the river. And on the contrary, if we compare that situation with India and our society, in our culture, it is developed around the river basins. Just for example, Sindhu river is there, that the culture is developed in that particular river basin. We worship the rivers and respect them as a pious one. Just I had been to Narmada Parikrama and I have seen that how people respect, how people worship the river. Rather, our tradition, our cultures has given the great significance, right? From mythology, we have given many examples. But still, there are serious issues of river pollution and the other connected issues like ecology is there and all those issues. But we cannot drink the river water directly without purifying it. So I have two questions that when we worship the river, that is the one part. And at the other part, we can't drink the river water directly due to the pollution. So don't you think this is the paradox? And where exactly the problem is? That is it the tradition or is it the culture? It is a problem, or it is about the misinterpretation or misorientation by the people about that particular tradition or culture.
So, well, I have very unpopular views about this subject. I very honestly think that worshipping and all is okay, but we get caught in symbols. We think that Ganga ki murti bana di. People, if you've gone to Narora, if you've gone to Haridwar, you've seen people worship Ganga like she's a goddess. She's not a goddess. She's much more than that. It's an ecosystem which feeds crores of people. We have very conveniently converted it into a symbol.
Okay.
That symbol which we can take home. There is small, Ganga jal. You take that home and then you start worshipping it. Do you really have anything to do with the river? So do we worship rivers or do we worship rivers for getting punya for ourselves? So generally what happens is this whole worshipping business, we do it to get punya for ourselves. And then we are least bothered what happens to the river. Last 2 weeks back, I was in Nashik, where there is, on Godavari, there is this place called Ramkund, where it was supposed that drops of Amrit fell, etc. There is Kumbh Mela and people come to it, especially in Ramkund. That Ramkund, in most of the droughts, gets completely dry. And it gets water, so this Ramkund actually has this I have a picture of Rampur has a huge pipe,
Okay.
which actually comes from borewell.
Okay.
So when water dries, when Amrit
Okay.
dries, you get Amrit from borewell.
Borewell.
And you put it in. But people don't mind it.
Yeah.
Ah,
Even better that the borewell at least is very close by.
close by.
In 2016, was it 16 or 15? It was, I think 16. Kumbh Mela, anchor water was actually put in Rampur.
Ah,
Oh.
yes.
So that
They were-
devotees could take their baths
And get the punya.
and then get that punya. At the same time, Trambakeshwar, where River Godavari actually originates, we went there with my colleague, and what we saw was there was also a lot of religious ceremonies happening on the banks of Godavari because it originates there. The Purohit's son polluted the river.
Oh.
So there was the High Court said that you should not pollute the river. The Purohit, that is the Shastris who perform all the puja. So they said, we really don't need the river. You don't need a platform so we can perform more pujas there.
Oh.
And so when the High Court said, no, the river is going to be there, you should take care of your sewage, they actually built a huge channel for the sewage and separated the river and put the river in a small pipe inside the drainage channel itself. So this is the reality. So if you ask me, has religion or has this entire worshiping sentiment helped rivers? I would actually say that it has not helped rivers at all. It has caused more problems for the rivers. The thing is because when we worship a river, we are only worshipping a symbol. So we try to understand ecologically what is the problem with the river. There are so many people who perform Narmada Parikrama. You try to understand the river.
Yeah.
I know so many people who perform Narmada Parikrama and they don't have anything to do with the fact that Narmada is going completely dry in the delta.
Yes.
Salt water comes up inside the Narmada for 50-55 kilometers.
Oh.
There is just no water in the river.
No water. Okay.
And we build huge statues there and we perform parikramas, we build dams and we. Who is actually concerned about the river? I don't think we are. So
So there is a commodification of that emotion as well.
Exactly.
a lot of religious sentiments, and it's not restricted to one specific religion, it is throughout because we are not really concerned about the river as an entity, we are more concerned about our own getting punya. There is Pushkaralu festival. In Pushkaralu festival, people are supposed to again take a bath in Godavari. There is no water in Godavari. So the government actually sunk borewells on the sides of the river and installed showers.
Oh.
So that devotees could take a shower bath where the river is dry, you can see that.
Oh.
And no one minds it. As long as, so then of course there is this question of pollution which happens during these things. So I'm skeptical. I would be the happiest if these sentiments actually help in protecting rivers. And we also have to understand that there is a difference between, institutionalized religious sentiments and cultural importance.
Okay.
Two different things. If you look at cultural importance, then I know of many fish sanctuaries where the fish are supposed to be sacred.
Okay.
And they are not supposed to be fished.
Okay.
And those river patches are protected.
Okay.
And that
Okay.
happens throughout the country. I've seen it in Uttarakhand, it happens in Maharashtra, in Karnataka, in Odisha, it happens in Meghalaya,
Okay.
it happens in Madhya Pradesh, in Gujarat. I don't know, Gujarat I'm not saying. But in most of these places, where there is cultural, for example, so there are fish sanctuaries.
Valencon.
Valencon in Kar, it's huge massive, and the pujari actually goes to the river bank. It's a steep cliff. And the pujari just claps standing at the river bank. And fish, endangered massive, they just congregate in the river.
Oh.
And then he throws puffed rice. to
And
them.
with a huge number there. Huge number.
Beautiful, it's wonderful to watch. That's cultural importance.
Yeah.
Now you just say now that, take this water and you'll get punya, the river will be dry and I guess that's it. And again, this is not restricted to one religion. In Northeast, if you see, there's a river called Nyamjangshu, where black-neck cranes, like Cyrus cranes, they're called black-neck cranes, certain species, they come for wintering. And the Monpa Buddhists there, they think that these black-neck cranes are actually the embodiment of Dalai Lama. Fifth Dalai
Okay.
Lama.
Okay.
And they wait for the cranes to come and they protect the river so that the cranes can come and
Oh.
in Sikkim, if you see Tista River, there is the lecture community which believes that their ancestors, and when they die, they don't go to heaven. They go to the mountain Kanchenjunga. And they go to the origin of Tista. And they will never allow any blasting, tunneling, or damming to the origin of Tista because they think that all their ancestors actually lived there.
Okay.
So this is one side of it. This is the cultural importance. So I think it's an interesting mix.
Yeah.
By and large, the mainstream thing, if you see that river worshiping has not helped. At the same time, cultural importance has helped. So
So that's the difference. That's the difference. And rather, the people who are uneducated, they have recognized and they are able to understand the cultural importance rather than the civilized people.
yes, possibly. I mean, that can be one of them. I think we are very much prone to lapping up lip service. So that's why when Prime Minister actually offers Ganga Aarti on completely concretized banks of Ganga in Varanasi, where Ganga itself is completely killed in its upstream with dams and then with inland waterways, we don't see a problem with that. It's because we have been too much used to, to just forget all these kind of. Whereas a person who lives close to the river knows what's happening. So I think they're much smarter when it comes to understanding.
So what the things which you have focused upon that clearly shows that the value of flowing or the healthy river is not much recognized. That the one thing, and also none of our law that says that there should be the flowing water in the river. That is the again one of the very big backdrop. So human being has extracted the river water till the last drop. Right now, by rule, 20% water should flow to maintain the hydrological flow of the river. So according to you, will this suffice the actual need of the river and its ecology? That's the first thing. And is this rule is being implemented in actual sense or not?
Okay. Now, this is a very important question. It can get slightly boring, but I'm willing to take the list now. So basically, like, there's a reason why I underline what does a river mean. What does a river mean? River means water that flows.
Okay.
Let's realize that.
Yes.
Only that is a river. And in India, there is no law which ensures that a river must have water. So we can build as many dams, we can pump out as much as water as we can. It's not illegal. So it is illegal if someone downstream is not getting water. But if the river itself is dry and dying, then that's not illegal. We are allowed to do that. So that's the basic problem. Change did start happening. And one of the biggest change which happened was, and it didn't happen suddenly. People like Professor G.D. Agarwal actually, laid his life down for this. And he was talking about Aviral Ganga. That Ganga river should have water.
Okay.
Because Ganga itself means flow. He built so many dams upstream of Ganga that there is no water in the river channel itself. Now, most of these dams are hydropower dams. As you know, hydropower does not take up water. It's not something like irrigation where water is diverted and taken. But this hydropower, where there is a dam, then there is a tunnel, it takes it to the powerhouse and it releases water. The river in between is dry.
Oh.
And the problem with Ganga and Tista and and Chenab and so many rivers in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh is that when this dam ends, there is one more dam. When that dam ends, there is one more dam. So the water is not in the river; it's only flowing through the tunnels. Going into the powerhouses. So Ganga in itself does not have water, and we have people saying that, oh no, but hydropower is clean energy. And for this, it's very necessary for us to see what the reality is, not just listen what the reality is. So that was one of the issues. So there was many civil society organizations and especially many of the villagers and the local residents got together and they consistently pressurized the Ministry of Environment and Forests and also Ministry of Water that the river should have water. From there evolved a concept called environmental flows. It's there all across the world. In India, it came slightly late. What it means is you cannot completely dry up a river. A river should have a amount so that its ecosystem will survive. But it was, see, hydropower industry runs on availability of water. So any less water, any water release is something that is a big no. So they don't really like it. But there was constant lobbying and advocacy on this point. Again, where governance comes in.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we had Nitin Gadkari actually saying that Ganga will have Aviral Dhara, so it will have water. Before that also, most of the new projects which were coming for clearance had a thumb rule of 20% of 20% lean season flow, that is 20% of their average flow of summer months should flow in summer months. 20 to 25% of non-lean, non-monsoon months, so in between, and 30% of the average flow in the monsoon months. That was a condition when environmental clearance was granted. Now, I really wish that some of you will get into environmental law and then they'll understand that clearance conditions are hardly ever met. They remain on paper.
Okay.
So, though this was said, when actually there was a committee which looked at what was happening, monitoring what was happening, they realized that hardly any of the projects actually left it. And Ministry of Environment and Forests did ask someone to monitor if they were releasing water correctly or not. Now, if I am a dam company and I am supposed to release water which is going to जो मुझे घाटे में डालेगा, then who should monitor if I am releasing water? Who should be the monitoring agency? It should be someone else, right? Yes. But with conflict. But MOF thinks that I myself can monitor.
Okay.
I myself, if I'm doing it correctly.
Exactly.
It's absolutely.
And they can. It's perfect. Exactly.
So I think what is legal and what is correct can become two different things.
Exactly.
Legal and appropriate.
So that was the thing. But then this Aviral thing came, and then till Unnao, that's in Uttar Pradesh. Now Ganga is supposed to have certain amount of through this notification. The problem is even that 11 major projects with some hydro projects and some of the barrages on Ganga which take irrigation water. Even that requirement. See, 20% of summer flows of 90%, it's very technical, but 20% of summer flows in summer months is hardly anything. It can hardly give some water to a small fish to, uska sar bhi nahi gila hoga usse. That's the kind of requirement that is. But even that has not been met by most of the projects. Because we can see it on National Mission for Clean Ganga, where they actually, some of the information is uploaded, you can actually check it for yourself. So that is not happening. But at the same time, have you understood what, what is very objectionable here? When I heard this, when I read this and I was going through this is National Mission for Clean Ganga. And we are talking about all these things for Ganga. And what about the other rivers? Ganga is a national river. My boss didn't like when I said this, but I told him today morning. Ganga is a national river. Are all other rivers anti-national rivers?
Yeah.
Certain, value loading only for Ganga, and Ganga should have Aviral Dhara. Shouldn't Godavari have Aviral Dhara? Discrimination. Absolutely.
Itself.
Yeah. And they see that is because, everyone has this ethos about Ganga. Of course, I also have ethos about Ganga. I want Ganga to flow, but I also want my river to flow.
Exactly.
I also want Godavari to flow, I also want Kaveri to flow.
Because there is
exactly
population depending on that river as well.
Exactly. And the Kaveri people, they consider Kaveri as their Ganga.
I mean, especially Kaveri people are very vocal about
Yes.
Kaveri.
But that's a good thing.
That is exactly.
It's a good thing.
For everyone, my river is my Ganga. So,
Absolutely.
Yes.
and so you have Ministry of Ganga Rejuvenation. It's a central ministry. Why Ganga Rejuvenation? So river rejuvenation, you know. So
I
Ganga.
My
Ganga is all rivers. All rivers
All
are called
rivers.
Ganga. So all rivers are Ganga. And this is true, you know. Actually, e-flows. If you look at many of the tribunal awards, they do actually have something for e-flows.
Okay.
Krishna Water Distribution does say that even the dams here on my right should release water for
Okay.
Krishna to flow because it
Okay.
eventually end up in Krishna. And they have if you look at Mahadei Tribunal, Mahadei Tribunal is between Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Goa. Huge, fights going on between sharing water of Mahadei, where Karnataka had said something about Goa doesn't use Mahadei water. So Mahadei is this Mahadei river, which is Goa's biggest river, and Karnataka also holds a small part of it. And Maharashtra also a very small basin part of Mahadei. But in Goa, it's a lifeline. And so Karnataka said, but Goa doesn't use Mahadei water. And all the water that is going through Mahadei is going to the sea and is waste.
Okay.
Now, this is a very important discussion that water flowing to sea is waste.
Okay.
Nowhere in the ecological world can you find a more stupid argument than this. Rivers are supposed to meet the sea.
Meet the sea.
Sea is river water and rainwater.
River
If
water.
you stop river water flowing into the sea, you'll have an ecosystem collapse in the
Collapse.
sea. Your marine fisheries will collapse, your riverine fisheries will collapse. So river water has to meet the sea. And water is not only water. There is
That is its natural culmination.
Exactly.
And that natural culmination is something on which we depend on.
Exactly.
Mumbai is built by the silt brought by rivers. Kolkata is totally built by silt. We once had Pune, which was Kaveri Delta, the most prosperous town in Kaveri, which is no longer there because the silt stopped coming. Godavari, there is coastal erosion happening because there is no water and silt reaching the delta.
Oh.
So if river does not meet the sea, civilizations collapse.
Oh.
It is as simple as that. But we think that water going to the sea is a waste. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this is because it was Mahadei Tribunal constituted by judges who were not ecologists. They wrote a 5-page argument on that, saying water going to sea is not waste.
Oh.
Fantastic! I was so thrilled to see that. And so I guess there's
Something by someone who is not expert in that field.
So human beings have misinterpreted that they only have the prerogative to live, and other living creatures, they don't have any right or any existence as such.
They have right only if they're useful to us.
Useful to
If
us.
they're not useful to us,
That is governed by utility.
Exactly.
Utility.
So I was very thrilled by Mahadei Tribunal, which said that water going to sea is not waste. Rivers need to have water.
Actually, it has nothing to do with formal education. It comes from wisdom. It comes from your experience. The way in which you are connected to nature, that will automatically help you to appreciate it in more effective manner.
You said something very important. If you look at the greatest river literature, which has happened in India, in Maharashtra also, but Maharashtra less because we are more a land of groundwater than a land of flowing rivers. Our rivers flow, they stop, they flow, they stop. But if you look at Bengal and Assam and others, they are absolutely land of rivers. And if you look at their literature, it is so amazing. I mean, there is this book called Pita Shakti Mother Ground, which talks about, it's written by a fisherman himself.
Oh, great.
Arvind Malabharman was a fisherman himself who's written it. And if you look at the ecological insights of that book, that is the insight that we still have not caught up to. We are still getting there. Rabindranath Tagore wrote his first play called Muktadhara.
Oh.
Muktadhara means free flow.
Free flow.
It is written more than 100 years back.
Oh.
And after 100 years, and it actually talks about breaking of a dam.
Ah,
100 years back,
but
Rabindranath Tagore was actually talking about breaking a dam. We are still so scared of talking about it. In US, 1,000 dams have been decommissioned, that is actually broken in the past, 10 years, because they actually studied the benefits and the costs of having or not having the dam. And they realized that dams do come with an age. You cannot have a dam till perpetuity. If a dam gets full of silt, if it is not generating electricity, then it's better to break it, let the river flow, than to have it and risk floods and water scarcity.
Rabindranath Tagore, if today he would have been there, he would have been charged with serious allegations, sedition.
UAPA would have definitely, put on him. His thoughts about nationalism, his thoughts.
Yes, yes. Yes, right.
His thoughts about nature, his thoughts about, and I'm sorry, this is not the platform to say it, but I would definitely like to still put it. His thoughts about religion and Hinduism were so beautiful. And he talked about how religion was actually about nature and how nature has
Oh.
very high, reflection in our religion and our practices. And at the same time, he was a secular, and he was
Secular.
and he did not believe in nationalism, which segregated people based on their religions. So all of them put both together. And I wish that it
The problem is of binaries.
Yes, so binaries are so convenient. Even in because, people just ask me, so are you against large dams? I said, this is a stupid binary. How can you be against large dams in general?
Absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
And that's a complicated debate.
There is a body called as Pollution Control Board. So, as a law student, definitely they would like to know that because we teach Pollution Control Board from legal perspective, its powers and functions and its contributions. But do you really think it has contributed?
So I'll just ask a very straight question to all of you. Pollution Control Board has been formed in 1974 under the Clean Water Act. Water
Yes.
1974. After that, in a few years, the
Yes.
mechanism was put in. So let us just say roughly 40 years. Have you seen one river clean? One river clean because of Pollution Control Board acting. We do not, it's not that we have, that there is some room for doubt. We do not have a single example in India of a river clean because pollution control techniques were used. It's a very serious thing. For example, in Chippadun, which is on the other side, in Maharashtra and also in India, especially in Maharashtra, we have this very amazing habit of setting up industries, chemical industries, right next to the river.
Next to river.
Here we have, Kasadi River and next the chemical industry, right? In Chippadun, you have the entire agricultural industry, which is now behaving slightly better. Once it was notorious for fish kills and entirely polluting Vashishti. And when in Chippadun, people used to, when in Lote Parshuram, people used to, come to the Pollution Control Board office and start screaming what's happening to our rivers, fish are dying. The response of Pollution Control Board, they shifted the office from there. That's all. So that people cannot come and protest.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, it's, whatever the major things. For example, there was this case about Ullas and Valdhuni rivers in Mumbai. NGT had actually given 100 crores of fine for pollution. So most of the changes which are happening are because people are getting involved and they are pushing the pollution control boards to act. Otherwise, they are dense with corruption. It's unfortunate, but it is true. I wish that it is untrue, but the fact is, pollution control boards have become and have always been dense with corruption. There would definitely be some efficient officers, and I have deep sympathy for them because they have to work in extremely difficult circumstances. But that's how it is. I mean, you look at treatment plants. In Pune, there are so many treatment plants, right? Water treatment plants. Yet, Pune's rivers are some of the most polluted rivers in the entire country.
Oh,
The interesting part is the beautification budget of Pune Municipal Corporation that is almost double than the sewage treatment plants.
The problem is, it doesn't matter what the budget is. Maybe sewage treatment will actually cost less than what their ideas of beautification are. The problem is, every time you ask the PMC that what's happening, they tell us now we have a budget of 700 crores. Now we have a budget of 1,000 crores. But what does the budget clean the river? Rajan is always saying that if you really want to clean a river, don't put money there. Money and contractors. Those two things actually sort of affect the river more.
Okay.
So I had my colleague who actually went to the sewage treatment plant in Pune, Amruta Pradhan, a very committed colleague, and she wanted to look at how they're functioning. The PMC would not even allow her to enter the sewage treatment plants. They said that you need permission from the PMC.
Okay.
She went to the PMC, no one knew who gives permission. She finally went to the power department and she got a permission and they let her in. So, sewage treatment plants, pollution control technology, pollution control mechanism, these are all citizens' services. They are put up with our tax money, with our,
Yes.
for us. They don't belong to anyone else. So I think we also have to get more and more engaged in their functioning and really concerned and engaged, and only then something can happen. You can't just, expect someone else to take care of your pollution.
Yes, we are in mid of March, and now news items already it started flashing in all the mainstream media about the scarcity of water. And just 2 days back, there was a news item from Kolhapur that now in a police protection work of a dam that is ongoing. So this is every year's phenomenon that in June or July till mid of August or September, dams are almost full, 100% full. But in February or in March or almost April, we always see there is a scarcity of water. So is it really a scarcity of water, or there is something serious wrong in its administration? So what do you think about it?
So there are always reports, and there was also the NITI report that by 2030 there's going to be water scarcity. There is, everyone, we are going to be an extreme.
Because the rainfall is almost same.
Rainfall is same. So it's logically rainfall is same, amount of water is more or less same, population is increasing, pollution is increasing. So we would say that there is a lot of pressure on resources, which is also true. That of course there is pressure on water, and it's not that we have ample water resources, especially this part of Maharashtra. This Maharashtra does not really have. When you go to Marathwada, the situation becomes even worse. So that's definitely true. At the same time, let's take an example of Pune or Mumbai for that matter. So in Mumbai, we are building lots of dams in Western Ghats. Mumbai will not be able to meet its water demand in the coming years, which is partly true.
Almost 12 dams.
12 dams in Western Ghats, which is partly true. I don't deny. At the same time, Mumbai loses water in its leakages and wastages. Just leakages in its pumping system, which is enough to fill 2 large dams which are being built right now.
Oh.
So that's the leakage.
We can save on it.
Mumbai, the suburbs or the municipal corporations like Ulhasnagar, which is very, very volatile and, very strong in asking for a new dam, Ambernath, they do not have even a single sewage treatment plant. There is practically no rainwater harvesting happening.
Okay.
There is practically no, efficiency monitoring for what happens to the water that comes to Mumbai. There are places which get 300 liters of water per day, and then there are slums which are now, if there are new slums, they are not allowed to get any water. They are just allowed to get any connections. So a slum dweller in Mumbai pays many times what a citizen in Malabar Hill actually pays for his water.
Oh.
And he still has to carry the water in his hands. At the same time, no sewage treatment, no rainwater harvesting, no work on leakages and wastages happening. So, same in Pune. Again, the calculations based on which we are justifying all the dams in Mumbai are assuming that each person will take 240 liters of water per day. In Amsterdam, the standard is up 100 liters of water per day. In many cities in US, like Phoenix in Arizona, I've actually interacted with some of those people there. Also, my city, Austin in Texas. Though there is a rise in population, there is actually decrease in the water use. And it's not small, it's substantial. There is rise in population, but decrease in water use. And why is this happening? Because of efficient water use mechanisms. And, recovering all of the cost of the water from the people. In Pune, we are just coming to metering. Otherwise, your water bill is actually based on the area of your house. So you can put your tap on whole day. You are not paying the amount of water that you are using.
Yes.
So, so I think it is major. I mean, Phoenix in Arizona receives about half of the rainfall that we receive, even Marathwada. And still they are able to do it. And still, so I think efficiency, transparent water governance is extremely important. We cannot increase the amount of water that we are getting. There are absolutely mad schemes like diverting the west flowing water rivers into Marathwada and stuff. You know, frankly, we are already doing it. In Nasik, yeah. In Nasik, we are actually taking a lot of water from the west flowing rivers.
And in fact, those are ambitious projects. People have been associating identities and all those things with those ambitious projects.
Water it from Narmada. It is from Narmada.
And in Narmada, you know, they don't perform any holy rites in Narmada because she's supposed to be the Kuwari river.
Yes. Yeah.
But in Shipra, the other thing happens. So in Shipra,
At Ujjain.
part of Shipra thinking that it is a lot of punya, but it is actually Narmada
Narmada
water.
water.
You're the Ujni, so I was
Yes.
Ujni, since it was built, we've been studying Ujni for a long time. Ujni dam hardly gets filled.
Yes.
It's very rarely. It does get, because now it's also filled with silt, so it gets sometimes. The actual entire the entire sort of beneficiary area of Ujni, the canal system is not completed. More than 40 years after the dam, the canal system is not completed. And on Ujni, you have 10 lift irrigation schemes. So they are all passed. There will take water.
Budget, one more scheme was
Passed. Huh? Fantastic. So people are going to take water from here. And we were asking question to Ministry of Environment Forest, where is the water budget? You have 100 liters of water coming and you have 500 liters of people taking away water from there. And what about the people who are promised water?
Yes.
And so it's completely crazy.
In fact, those who lost their land, in fact, they are prevented from taking water.
So real beneficiaries are out of the picture.
This is such unrealistic and discriminatory that those who have given their land, their home, they are deprived of their natural right to get benefit for what they have paid a very heavy price. To give you a house, it is not just a construction. It is, there are emotions, your entire things which are associated with. So uprooting itself is such a horrifying kind of a thing.
Completely. Like you mentioned Ujni. If you look at Mumbai, there is this dam called Middle Vaitara, which is now going to supply water to Mumbai. So now already supplying water to Mumbai. I've actually seen the displacement colony built for Middle Vaitara. If you've ever seen the tribal houses in that region, they are beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. They're built with mud. They are painted with 3 kinds of mud. They're painted with 3 colors, actually, of the mud. They have a homestead, they have houses, they have cattle and fashion. Those are houses. They were built a displacement colony with 10 roofs.
Okay.
Extremely horrible. One room with a 10 roof. And those women who took water from the river and their wells, whose wells and villages are now completely submerged, have to walk nearly 15 kilometers to get water. Where Mumbai actually has to turn on a tap and get water from the river.
Get water.
So I think these are issues we can no longer forget or think that they are not our issues. They are our issues. And I wish more and more students who are here would somehow.
Yes, because I read in relation with the social justice that when a woman from a rural area has to walk for 10-15 kilometers just to get one 5 liter or 10 liter of water, and on other hand you have to just in a way get water from a tap, then there is actually, it is not a scarcity of water.
Exactly.
Actually, it is a scarcity of a social justice.
Absolutely.
So how you look at it?
No, it's absolute. You completely pinpointed it. There is now an interbasin transfer system happening inside Maharashtra. It is pushed inside Maharashtra. It is going to take water from Chavan and Mokhada talukas and take them to Sinnar. So it's a high rainfall region and taking that water to a low rainfall region, Sinnar. So on the surface of it, we all think that river interlinking is such a great thing. जहाँ पे ज़्यादा पानी होता है वहाँ से कम पानी वहाँ पे transfer करो.
Because it is easy to convince on logical basis.
So ऐसे looks very attractive. Looks logically, but look at the reality. Chavan, though it gets so much of rainfall, it's an extremely hilly terrain.
Yeah.
There is nearly no irrigation facility there.
Okay.
It has the highest infant mortality rate in entire Maharashtra.
Oh.
If you see what women do to get one ghada of water
Okay.
in Mokhada, you'll be stunned. And from that region, you are taking water to Sinnar for industrial MIDC use. Extremely prosperous region.
Which is actually a sin.
Which is, yes, which is actually a sin, so the Sinnar. So, and that water is going to industries, and you are saying that you are transferring water from a water-rich area to a water-poor area. When you are actually transferring water from a poor area to a rich area and justifying it, saying that it is an inter-basin transfer. So I think, or if you take example of inter-basin transfers from Nasik, water was transferred, went all to the wine industry, it never even reached downstream. So is our problem availability of water, or is our problem governance of that water?
Exactly.
We have seen in Maharashtra.
On one hand, there is a scarcity of water, but wineries, they never experience that particular scarcity.
Winery, sugar industries, and also cities. I think we should never forget mentioning cities, because now more and more Maharashtra is the most urban state in the entire country, and it's very easy for a city dweller like me to say that sugarcane takes up a lot of water.
Yes.
What about Pune? What about
Exactly.
I take up so much of water. I pollute. The thumb rule is that if it's just sewage, then 1 liter of sewage can pollute 8 liters of water.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So what about me? I am actually, playing a major part in the state's water security.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's,
So obviously, when we are talking about the sugarcane or the winery projects, so sugarcane, that is a very sweet word. Okay, but actually the situation is not much sweet. So it consumes a lot of water for the growth of sugarcane, first thing. Secondly, for the production of the sugar as well, we consume a lot of water. And at the same time, India, being an agricultural country, we export sugar. So it means we export sugar rather than we export the virtual water. So we are exporting the sugar at the cost of the degradation of the environment, the degradation of the river in India. So do you think that there should be some modification or some changes in our import-export policies which will help to minimize these kind of the issues related to the water management.
Yeah, well, import-export policy, before I get into sugar, I think if there is to be some benefit of import-export policy, then we should really encourage the export of our pulses and oilseeds. Then actually what happens is, see, I've been working on sugarcane for some years now, and initially I was extremely against sugarcane in the dry region, and it is actually very good. But in the worst droughts of 2012, 13, 14, we grew sugarcane in Marathwada like crazy. You know, I mean, in one way, on one hand, you had Latur getting water by trains.
Trains.
On the same time, Parbhani, which received less rainfall than 1972 drought,
Yeah,
actually was crushing record amount of sugarcane.
exactly.
I was actually standing at a dam, Lower Perna, in Usmanabad, and that dam was supposed to supply drinking water to the village. There was no drinking water. Dam was dry.
Yes.
And the jackwell of the dam, there was a pump, and the pumped water was going to the sugar industry for correction.
Oh.
Unbelievable scenario. It's completely crazy. At the same time, I have got many friends now who are sugarcane farmers. Who tell
Even
me,
I hail from a belt.
yes,
Which is a sugar belt. Usni.
that's the irony. But the reason, I mean, I was told that the reasons are so clear that there is no MSP given in MSP. Is a MSP, that's a different debate. Even if there is an MSP, there is no procurement center.
Procurement.
So MSP, you karoge kya? How am I going to
Yes,
you know, pulses to oasis to get in place.
exactly.
Whereas with sugarcane, whatever comes, whatever happens, the farmer is assured some return.
Exactly.
That is the systemic problem.
Absolutely.
The choice of sugarcane is a
So
consequence of that systemic problem.
never blame the farmers for making a choice
Yes,
which enables him to feed his family.
absolutely.
So after this, after 2012-13 drought, where we calculated that the amount of water taken to irrigate that sugarcane. So sugarcane in Maharashtra is grown on about roughly 9.7% of the cropped area, and it is 71% of irrigation water.
No.
That is the disparity.
Exactly.
9.7 and 71% irrigation water. Whereas oilseeds and pulses are grown on about 16% and 10% of area and get hardly 4% of irrigation water,
Oh.
or even less. Now you will say that most of the oilseeds and pulses are just kharif crops. They do not need irrigation. But with irrigation, their yield increases tremendously. And India actually spends so much of foreign exchange in importing
pulses.
seeds. But then actually no. So when this happened, and there were no pulses and oilseeds, even Prime Minister Modi at that time said that India has to become pulse self-sufficient. We have to grow oilseeds.
Because even Brazil and few other countries now, corporates have entered,
Exactly.
especially for growing pulses.
And we have to ensure that we grow. And the next year, the farmers in Marathwada actually did grow record amount of pulses and oilseeds. And what did we do? We actually put an export ban. And the prices, we made sure that the prices fall so much that the farmers actually had to sell it for peanuts. I mean, see, peanuts, actually peanuts.
Policies are customer centric, not farmer centric.
Not farm.
Urban customer.
Urban customer.
I get all the benefits of a farmer actually,
By actually robbing farmers.
Exactly.
And now see, this is the system. And in this system, now I get very confused. I do not have the confidence of saying that do not grow sugarcane. But who am I to say that? If they actually grow pulses and oilseed, sugarcane, you have to add so much of fertilizer. You are locked in an 11-month or a 16-month cycle. With pulses and oilseed, they actually fix nitrogen.
Yes.
They make the soil more productive.
More productive.
They fix carbon. They are important for climate change. So we should be actually paying the farmer who grows pulses and oilseeds that he is the environmental steward.
Exactly.
We should felicitate him.
Actually, there is no coherence in policy.
But What we make sure is that we rob him at the worst possible time.
Hmm.
When he spent all his money in cultivating all his effort, and then he's going to go and sell in the market. That is a precise time when we decide to rob him. So I think it's a bad scene. So
And when prices are up, then media and everyone is
Yes.
on alert mode. But when farmer is in difficulty at that time,
Then
it is
no
not
one cares.
priority for them.
I come from Nashik. I have seen people throwing tomatoes and onions.
Onions.
So many years I've seen that.
Yes.
And onion now, you know,
Yes.
must have seen farming. Onion growing is so labor intensive.
So labor.
It's not a mechanized.
It's very
No.
tedious job.
Tedious.
Tedious job.
And think of that farmer who actually has to throw that onion because he doesn't.
And market is very uncertain.
And market is there to protect everyone's interest but the farmers.
Yes.
So in this situation, sugarcane is just one of the things. It is a problem and it has to be dealt systematically.
There is a concept of zero budget farming. So do you think
I don't know much about zero budget farming. I don't know much
Okay.
about farming per se.
Ah.
But little that I know of farming, of especially zero budget farming, is good for. I mean, I'll be wrong if I say that. But I really think that it is good on an experimental level, but
Okay.
large scale farming.
Large scale
in
farming.
India, at least it will take time to reach.
Okay. Okay.
It's,
Yeah.
you do have to put in inputs.
Okay.
So basically, in Maharashtra, in a decade, we have spent 75,000 crore for irrigation. But if we compare that amount which we spent with the area which has come under the irrigation, that is nearly 0%. Nearly 0%. Is it a squandering of public money, which is responsible for a drought-like situation, and that has been written by P. Sainath as well. The book was Everyone Loves a Good Drought, which argues that the drought is a imperative for the political wing. So what is your analysis about the drought and the economy of drought policies?
Yeah. So, well, we have spent a lot of amount on water resources infrastructure in Maharashtra. India has one of the biggest water infrastructure in the entire world, in which Maharashtra has the biggest infrastructure in India, in which Western Maharashtra has the largest infrastructure. So we are right now sitting at a place which has possibly the densest water infrastructure in the entire world.
Okay.
So yes, Maharashtra has spent 7,000 crores in the last decade. So it does not mean that there has been 0% rise in irrigated area. It's more complicated than that. There has been rise in irrigated area. This is
But not up to the mark.
not up to the mark. Because there is
That could be appropriate.
cross crop area, there is a double crop area. So even if there's not increase in area, is our agricultural production increasing? Yes, it is. So then water is coming from somewhere. It is happening.
Okay.
That's true. Where is that water coming from? Because actually we looked at the all our major and medium projects. So how do dams irrigate? Dams irrigate by canals. So we actually looked at the increase in the canal irrigated area. Years. And we actually saw that since 1999, actually 2005, let's say 2005, till 2017, because we've not done the latest report, we have to do that. We used all the government figures. There has been no rise in the canal irrigated area.
Okay.
Though we are spending thousands of crores, and this is an all Indian picture.
Yes.
Despite the fact there is increase in agricultural productivity. The reason is
Groundwater.
your PhD. Groundwater. Groundwater is exploding. So we are we actually have sinking, and you can actually see it from a satellite. They're sinking because of groundwater use. So in Maharashtra, more than 60% of most of the irrigation is groundwater. Drinking water, rural drinking water schemes are all groundwater. So, and yes, in dams, I think what is there to say? I mean, it's a very long story to understand. Dams in Maharashtra, many of them, in for example, take a small example, in Konkan, right next to me, the Konkan Irrigation Development Corporation spent 6,000 crores since its formation for building major and medium projects.
Okay.
Not a single project is complete. Not one single major and medium project in Konkan is complete. Spent 6,000 crores. Most of them are either leaking. So the problem is, कि ज़्यादा problem मत करो. That's the only thing. But we have projects in Konkan like the Tivre Dam, which is doing it.
What environment impact assessment?
Yeah. So dams in Maharashtra has been, we are the largest dam building state in the country, though we have the lowest irrigated area in the country also. One of the reasons is also that it is getting concentrated. Thermal power plants, cities, sugarcane, it's getting concentrated in smaller and smaller pockets, whereas the larger region remains rain-fed. And if you look at equity, then it has a major
Maharashtra is having almost 1,845 plus dams.
absolutely.
And on the other hand, we always see that there is a scarcity of water. So, the proposition that by constructing dam, we will irrigate and we will solve the problem, it has failed.
I always talk with most of the farmers I meet, and I have just yesterday I met a farmer who said that he gets canal water.
Okay.
Previous time in the past about 10 or more years, 15 years, I was yet to meet a farmer who said that he gets canal water. How do you get it? Adhar hi nahi hai. I don't know.
Yes.
That is the answer.
Yes. Because even stay nearby Muslim, same is our experience. Canal water is not our main source.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And one of the reasons for this is also it is in law. We have the Irrigation Act, Maharashtra Irrigation Act of 1976,
Yes.
Yes.
where you were actually supposed to notify the command
Yes.
of the project. Then those command people will then claim that I need that water because I am notified as a canal as a command person. So what is the thing that we do?
In one of your interviews, you pointed out that there are no rules made
No rules.
in these 40 years.
No rules.
So this is such a astonishing and shocking.
Yeah, well, it is shocking, but Pradeep Purandare, who's the, I respect him a lot, he's like a guru in water governance.
Yes.
He says that, so why are there no rules? Is it an efficiency problem? No. It's a strategy not to have rules.
Oh.
All of these laws, Maharashtra Irrigation Act, Maharashtra Farmers Participation Act, where the WSA will form, Maharashtra Water Resources Regulatory Act, or the Groundwater Act, they were all tied with Maharashtra Water Sector Improvement Project and getting loans from World Bank.
Yes.
You have laws, you create laws, get the loan, everything is good, make a good impression. Then who bothers about the rules? So you don't have notified rivers, you don't have, you don't have a notified command area. So you can't say that I need this water with my right to have this water. You have water users associations, farmers who have all the responsibilities but no rights. You have a Groundwater Act of 2009 without any rules.
Without any rules.
So this is not inefficiency. This is planned strategy of not having it.
There is one question from the participants.
Farm
I think
ponds.
you will take.
Jalayukta Shivar.
How successful leading to the farm ponds mooted by previous government in Maharashtra, Jalayukta Shivar. That's a particular thing which is very important.
Yeah.
And recently there are scriptures which are passed in the
CAG report.
about the utilization of the funds. So on one hand, that was a policy which was projected as very ambitious policy.
Yes.
And
It is like a panacea on all the existing problems relating to irrigation. And on the other hand, CAG, which is the expert body in that particular field, which says that it is like a squandering of
Money.
as a policy analyst. What do you think about that entire episode?
So the question is also about farm ponds. I will
Farm
go to
ponds.
farm ponds very specifically later. Jaluyukta Shivar in itself, when the idea was mooted, when the government actually, the last government came into power as a response to the dam scam.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because of the dam scam, the earlier last government came to power, and while coming to power, they very specifically said that large dams are not delivering in Maharashtra.
Yes.
As a response to this, this is
Yes.
the Jaluyukta Shivar scheme of, and frankly speaking, we were delighted. Because we knew that this is, yes, finally someone is saying that large dams are not Maharashtra. The
Who
problem
is having actual influence over policies,
and then possibly
political will.
now possibly things will change, and we were like really thrilled with that. And so we were also thrilled with Jaluyukta Shivar project. Though we could see that there are problems, but we were like, something happening. One of the major problems with Jaluyukta Shivar was that it was not following the watershed approach.
Okay.
It was following a village approach. Now a village can fall into a number of watersheds, number of things. So there was no ecological basis for the project.
Okay.
And one of the biggest push for which we had also written letters to the government, we had a lot of signatories, and and this was at the very beginning of the we were criticized for it, but I think it was that. Well, how is river rejuvenation happening in Jaluyukta Shivar? That's Saralikaran and Rudnikaran. River straightening and widening. You put in a JCB, you cut off the banks of the river, take off all the trees, you drag, completely dredge its water, and you take photos there saying that, see, we have rejuvenated our river. This is the most unecological, extremely destructive way to treat any river. You are cutting off its meanders, you are making its banks unstable, and you are exposing its groundwater aquifer completely. You will, of course, have water because that is the groundwater aquifer that you are exposing, which is not supposed to be exposed.
Exposed.
And then it will, that water is completely used up.
Yes.
Water availability does not mean water security. Water availability will have equity issues. Someone can use up all that water.
Yes,
absolutely.
We will not have that water. And that happened in Jaluyukta Shivar. There were actually water conflicts happening. That the upstream actually widened and straightened all the river. And the downstream didn't do it. So they got more, they captured more water, they opened the aquifer to it. Where is the water downstream? And there is no river approach at all. AK stretch you widen, and so it basically became a JCB and contractor driven thing. And it is horrible. You cannot mix a river, especially small nalas and JCBs. There were many religious organizations who also jumped in, and they only thought that widening and deepening to hold the river rejuvenation.
Yes.
And it took a really long, and then so that was one problem. At the same time, I saw some extremely excellent work under Jaluyukta Shivar in Solapur. Bunding, there was well recharge, there was resetting of small lakes. It was really good.
Yes.
So I think it is not as if the entire scheme was completely wrong. This river widening was absolutely incorrect. The point is, Pratik again mentioned it very correctly, that this was like, that we had systemic problems. You cannot replace a systemic problem by a novel solution. Let's have Jaluyukta Shivar. What about water governance? What about the laws that we what about the large dams that we already have, which we need to make more efficient? What about cities which are polluting? What about the dams which are not functioning? So we needed. This cannot be you cannot throw everything away and then adopt something new and now say that we are only going to do this. You have to integrate, and that didn't happen. And then the government made claims like there has been a 45% increase in agricultural productivity. And that's very, very incorrect. At the same time, when people said that there is no rise in groundwater levels don't rise overnight.
Exactly.
So it's okay. I mean, I was person, many of the experts would be perfectly okay if there is a gradual thing, but it has to move with governance. If you increase groundwater table and then use up all that water for an industry or for sugarcane, what are your net? You're not making a net gain. So I think not many such issues with Jal Electricity Board, especially the contractor lobby, the upstream downstream issues, and the entire also this really growing up its benefits wouldn't have worked. At the same time, I really wish that there is something of small scale appropriate water governance technology that still comes in.
Okay.
We cannot just completely make it into a villain. It was not. It was just a very badly implemented scheme.
Okay.
Lot of room for improvement. Should have happened. It was also about political interest.
Okay.
Yes. So whatever discussion we had, it I think clearly shows that we should understand river as a ecology. So I came across with one beautiful judgment that is Lalit Miglani versus State of Uttarakhand. The court said Himalayan mountains, rivers, streams, lakes, jungles, forests, all these things are required to be declared as a legal entity or a legal person or juristic person. So will it serve the purpose of conservation of ecology? What do you think?
Yeah, well, it was not a beautiful judgment. A lot of problems in that judgment, specifically that judgment. You know what it said was that Ganga and Yamuna are their persons, living persons, living entities. And this was in response to the New Zealand victory of the Shankarrao tribe, which actually did secure personship rights for that person. But that river and that tribe had been fighting for that personship for the last 100 years.
Oh.
It had a long history. And there was this case, and then someone filed a case in Uttarakhand. And Uttarakhand High Court said that, okay, Ganga and Yamuna are living entities in Uttarakhand. And the state government is their legal guardians.
Okay.
Again, they are giving.
The same state government, which is completely, which is hell bent on giving the river, becomes suddenly the guardian. The state government was so scared they went to the Supreme Court. They said,
We don't want to take this appreciation.
And you can't really have the judgment for a small part of the river, only in Uttarakhand. So is Ganga and Yamuna persons?
Actually,
They're in Uttarakhand, but they become non-persons when they come outside Uttarakhand.
there is a change in a role.
Change in the role. So the judgment was passed in the Supreme Court, and it didn't happen. However, there is a growing right of rivers movement throughout the world. It started from Ecuador, actually. Then in Colombia also a river was notified. Then in 2017, this happened in Margaret tribe in New Zealand. In US, a number of rivers are actually, they are getting the personhood. In Himachal, there is some work going on recognizing the personhood of rivers. So I think it definitely is a different way of looking at a river than what we are used to. However, it will need a lot of more, evolution and a lot of more work before it becomes implementable in a country like India. It's very difficult. But so I personally think that a river is much more than a person. I mean, if you look at even a tiny river, kind of services that it gives is much more than a person. So,
So it is actually underestimating river.
It's not overestimating actually. So that's an issue, but still the global rights for rivers movement is growing stronger. More and more people are joining in.
That's a good sign.
That is a good sign, and possibly you will have some good judgments coming out there. Definitely a place to look out for.
And one fundamental question that peeps into the mind, that whether the water is to be considered as the common pool resource or whether it should be considered as the property. What's your opinion?
Yeah, globally it's a difficult question because in most of the countries in the world, when the water flows on the surface, it's a common food resource.
And
when
then
it goes inside the ground, it becomes
It's
belongs
the
to
same
the
thing
person.
is with India as well
Yes.
right now.
Belongs to the person who owns that ground.
Immobile property.
At the same time, now this is again.
These are the problems created by civil law, mainly.
Exactly.
But forget law. What is actually happening? That when you dam a river, do you even know how the allocation should happen? It does go to, it does get privatized. For example, Shernath, an entire river was privatized and actually sold to a company. And that the same happens when you build a big dam and you deny water rights to one and give that water right to, which was a major part of, of one of the judgments of MWRA, that they actually, and that's why water rights and trading water rights is so difficult and complicated. And we should never get into get into that on trading water rights, because especially in our country, where Pratap Salunke not only talked about equitable water distribution to all, he also talked that even a landless labor has a right to water. If you
It should not be associated with land.
Yes.
Landholding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How can one be associated with
Landholding.
And if we go into the economic discussion and economic water rights and water trading, it should be
That's
very
a-
So
difficult.
this is another kind of a zamindari in water distribution.
In Bihar, there are the Panidari system, the Patdari system, where the the zamindars actually hold water and water rights. So it's a very problematic system.
Right. I want to ask you about the dam. The original idea for construction of a dam was actually to prevent floods and to store water and release it by having a systemic approach. But unfortunately, we have seen that the main reason for majority of the floods, that is release of water from dam. So is it a case that we have not understood that particular concept, or is it a case that these are the problems relating to administration of a dam water?
Well, so just in 2019, Maharashtra faced some of the most destructive floods we've ever seen. Sangli, Kolhapur, Satara, even Pune, huge floods, loss of life,
Yes.
loss of cropland, tremendous loss of cropland. We actually documented all of that. So if you look at it, definitely the rainfall was extremely high. It was unprecedented rainfall. So you cannot say that the floods could have been completely avoided. Not possible. We also do not have that big dams to bring down all of the water. Then there is this question of rainfall in between the catchment. So there is this dam, this is the village settlement. There is rainfall in this catchment also, which no dam can fetch.
Yes, yes.
At the same time, what did the dams do? If you look, we studied the major 9 dams in Sangli region, and also dams in Konkan region like Tilari, which what happened was, so let us first see what happened. What happened was, dam water was filled till about 7th of August, till about 4th
Yes.
August, till about July end. Most of the dams were
Yes.
at nearly 95 to 100% full capacity. And then the forecast started coming.
Yes.
And then, to be fair with the dam operators, the rainfall came so fast and it was
Fast.
so huge that they had no
So
other
that window
option but
was not sufficient for it.
this is what happens with large infrastructure. And that's why large infrastructure has to be handled very, very, very consciously. And we already have reservoir operation systems. We have real-time data coming in to the dam operator from the catchment, how much water is falling, and when we have to open the dam. We have rule curves of dam. That is, rule curve actually shows when, how much water should be released. You cannot fill a dam till the end of July, and because you still have months to go.
Yes.
Exactly.
But the problem in Maharashtra is that we are First of all, no one believes the forecast.
Ah.
This is the problem. There is no coordination between the water sources department and the IMD. When actually IMD forecasts are pretty good.
Pretty good.
On an average, 48 hours notice, they are good forecasts. Even more than that, quite reliable. But there is absolutely no coordination happening. Rule curves are thrown in dustbins. So we had this, after these floods, we had a committee called Ordinary Committee, which was constituted to look at the reasons of these floods. Pradeep Randari was the member of this committee. He was not given the rule curves of these dams and whether they were followed. A committee member was not given. So forget about us. I mean, we are just, people who lose their cattle and homes and lives. What is our problem? Then actually rule curves and the way water is released should be in open domain. In US, in Australia, dam operators have been put in jail because they did not follow the rule curve, because they held up water for a long time and did not release water in time. We have zero accountability. Ordinary committee report, which was supposed to be the, look at the reason, just ended up being a report of "Haare Bapre, bahut zyada everyone tried their best, but nothing happened." That is the nature of the report. No accountability, no responsibility fixed. The members themselves had their chapters removed from the report. They did not include that chapter, both in. So,
because the tragedy which happened in near Mumbai, that the collector informed that there is a release of water, that the local tehsil office, they informed the railway department that you have to stop trains beyond this particular point. But the railway officer was adamant to say that you cannot give us instruction. We are governed by our own railway department, which is under the central government, and you are the employees of the state government or state government. So,
how a state government employee can give instructions to the central government? So what? And that was the main reason why train was not at that point of time.
but I mean, see, this is so ridiculous that it was between the state and center and but even between the inside the state itself, there is zero coordination.
Yeah.
The water resource department actually has an RTDS system, has a reservoir operations system. Actually, we have spent crores on setting up that system. It is entirely unused, completely unused. If it was used, would the flood be completely stopped? Not possible. But the severity would definitely have
yes.
And you look at the climate change that is happening, extreme weather events which are increasing,
Yeah.
the kind of rainfall that is happening, these incidents are going to become more and more, they are going to become more frequent. So you cannot have an administration and a governance
Age-old, archaic
archaic
mindset
mindset and
is not going to work.
completely opaque to what people are asking. Put the rule curves in open domain. Let people see. Stop blaming Almaty. Because that was also clear from it. It was not Almaty backwater effect which caused so much of floods in that
It's
region.
just a blame game.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it does happen. And so even I was disappointed in Ordinary Committee report. They said take off the meanders of Krishna. You don't do anything. You don't do blue line mapping. You don't do river regulation zones. You don't try to understand the carrying capacity of the river, and you make recommendations like take off the meanders of Krishna. I mean, it's highly ridiculous. And we have Maharashtra is a land of committees and committee reports. We have committees. There is a problem. Form a committee. Committee will come out with a report.
Yes,
Ignore the report.
exactly.
What's going on?
What happens to those recommendations and suggestions which actually
It's very, very important. Right? You know what happens? I mean, what is the action taken after that report?
exactly, because the government itself is appointing the committee to get some ideas or recommendations for a better kind of a management.
But construction, the blue line, red line,
Exactly.
these things,
Only we
these are
have it.
completely neglected. It is in book, it is in a statute, but actually it's not functional.
Now, Pune Municipal Corporation is now saying that river front development will also happen in blue lines. And so I said that, but there are so many blue lines, which is a good river area, not developed. They said, no, everywhere it is developed. So ये रख के क्या करेंगे? यहाँ पे भी we should develop.
Oh.
And there was secretary of past secretary of Maharashtra State who had told me that if we actually implement blue and the red lines, most of the cities will be undevelopable. It's completely wrong. Most of the cities get flooded. We need to have more. I mean, so
We are alert on those lines only
When there is a firefighting or when there is a flood.
and
But
forget it.
Because we are in a way jumping on all those fancy projects which are in a way advertising that a river view is there and for which they are charging you.
Very careful about advertisements which say in the lap of nature.
Lap of nature.
Next to river, because they are always
Actually, you are in a lap of a peril.
and they are always constructed by destroying nature.
Destroying
Exactly.
nature.
Only way you can be in the lab of nature in urban areas.
Exactly.
Or if it's a river bank, it's always built by encroaching the river.
Encroaching.
So,
So when we are talking about these recommendations and reports and the functions of the different committees or various setups, institutional setups we are having. So in 2019, we formed a Ministry of Jal Shakti. So basically, that ministry was formed by merging two ministries. That is Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. And second was Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation. So how this merger of the ministries has impacted the overall water management?
I hardly see any difference. We have a Central Water Commission under the Ministry of Water. Does so much of stuff. If you look at the Central Water Commission's entire mandate of work, if it was working even half of that, we would have had the best quality of rivers ever. So, and I personally think that, of course, yes, central ministries do have a role to play, a very strong role to play. But it is, of course, the local self-governments and the local governments which really affect. It is about the state policy. It is about how your city is managing your rivers, which is finally going to actually making a difference. And in that sense, I think that it is very important that we, the people and the citizens, become involved not only in river cleaning. That's okay. You need to go and you need to, you need to take up, drives and awareness generation and all that. That's all okay. But we need to get involved in the actual governance. Like Shailendra Patel, I was discussing with you. Shailendra Patel is someone who's been working on a very tiny stream in Baudhan, very small stream. What he actually did was he wrote a letter to MWRRA and asked them that this is groundwater source and protect it.
Okay.
Now, MWRRA is the groundwater authority of Maharashtra under the Groundwater Protection Act. But it never knew that a common citizen can ask it to work. And they were like, shocked. They were like, what happened? So they asked, under the Groundwater Act, they asked the SDO of Mahakulshi Tehsil to become the district groundwater authority and notify it as a drinking water source. He was stunned because he didn't know he was supposed to do something like that. So, and all this happened because, Shailendra Patel not only went and cleaned that spring, he actually made the authorities aware of their duties and responsibilities and they can work. And I think in a country like India, that is very, very necessary. We do not have, we've always said that, Vishnu always says that if you look at funds, we are never low on funds.
Okay.
In Ganga, the National Mission for Clean Ganga, they have already budgeted and spent nearly 23,000 crores on Ganga. Pehle uski Ganga Action Plan has spent nearly 20,000 crores. Look at Maharashtra, thousands of crores. Pune River, 1,000 crores. 1,000 crores se niche Maharashtra koi baat nahi karta. So that's the kind of amount it is. We have technical know-how. We have IITs. We have cutting-edge technical know-hows. So we have people who are very interested in clean rivers. So what is the problem then? It is the governance which is the problem. We need to make the authorities and the agencies who are responsible of working on this to work. And in this case, I think law and law students make a big difference. I think, I really appeal to most of you, please explore environmental law. Please help people in filing cases, there are so many people who have no help. They do not know where to go when it comes to, environmental litigation. There is a major dearth of environmental lawyers in India when the pressures are so high.
So
You
high.
all know what happened to the EIA notification. 17 lakh people sent, recommendations to the government. Never happened in the past. So we have more and more youngsters. We need
Exactly.
to get involved, and not only involved in, morcha karne ke liye and protests. We need them involved in governance. Involved in making the machinery work, because that's an important part of democracy.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yes.
There was a policy in Maharashtra, a river regulation zone of 2000, and which was scrapped in just one signature. And there was no much debate about it in the mainstream media when small items are showcased, portrayed as a breaking news and prime time is there. So do you think that there is no such priority because people are also not treating it very seriously, and that's why that apathy is there in a political wing? So where that particular problem lies?
I don't think there's apathy at all. I think there is very conscious decision to not do these things. Apathy is indifference. There is no indifference. When RRZ was scrapped, Maharashtra was the only state in India which actually had an RRZ. In India, there has been such a huge battle to have an RRZ for all of these rivers, but we don't have it. And again, there is again an effort to tinker with the environmental laws of the country now. There is again, the government is now looking for a consultant lawyer agency which can look at all the environmental laws of the country. I think it's horrible because environmental laws take decades to get formed. Environment Protection Act actually formed after the Silent Valley struggle. Went on for such a long time. After that, this legislation came in place. It takes nothing to just get off. Trump did it the same in US. It doesn't take much to dismantle what we have. It takes decades to build a legal structure, a legal environment. RRZ was a very, very unfortunate example. And then there was also an effort by the irrigation department to do away with the red and the blue lines. Thankfully, it was stopped for now by citizens. But these things are always stopped temporarily. We always need to keep working on this.
If we read the Indian Constitution, then Article 262 is there to resolve the water dispute. So center is given the power to have water regulation, because if it is given to states, then there may be conflict of interest. But do you really think
that by putting water as a subject in the Indian list, we have resolved completely?
Because the situation is indicating something different.
Yeah.
So what is your analysis?
Yeah, so, it's definitely a problem. Water being in the Indian list, but I think if you look at the conflicts and the scale of the conflicts going on between, between Karnataka and Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, even international water problems also. Even between Maharashtra and Gujarat when it comes to the rivers. And if you look at that, I'm very happy that it's a union subject, because otherwise it would have been so problematic. And it's very interesting when there was, we cannot underestimate people's power. There was opposition for Parthapi Narmada project, which was going to transfer water from Maharashtra to Gujarat and then to Gujarat to Maharashtra. It did not happen when the government in center was BJP, government Gujarat was BJP, government Maharashtra was BJP. Even then it didn't happen because the people were so opposed to it. I think it's very necessary that there is a tribunal and there is a third party intervention when something like this happens. It's far from ideal actually.
Okay.
Look at it right now, but let the good not be the enemy of the best.
Okay. How do you see
International law as far as water management intertrade, that is, amongst the nation,
Because when the states are the units of same union, still there are problems. And when two different countries are sharing water of a river, like Sindhu and this thing, then it is more complicated problem because it is associated with your nationality, your national pride, and your image at the international plane and what you want to project in at your home front as well. So how you look at it means whether international law is effective in dealing with all these complicated problems?
Well, compared to most of the other, the water conflicts that we've had with our neighbors, we have water conflicts with almost all our neighbors. We have them with Nepal, we have them with Pakistan, we have them with Bangladesh.
Yes.
Happening all. Even then, if you compare, the Indus Water Treaty has been the most effective treaty so far.
Okay.
It has survived
Okay.
wars. It has, it's still not, it's never happened that India has, relegated from its responsibilities under the IWT. Pakistan has gone to the International Court of Arbitration many times against India. Many times it was also justified in doing so. And even then, I think IWT is an example of how a well-drafted, Ramaswamy Iyer was one of the persons who drafted a well-drafted treaty can actually work even with two nations like India and Pakistan. Even when we don't see eye to eye, IWT is something that did work. But now if you take the example of between China and India, our problems, we do not have any treaty. China just agreed to share water data with India some years back. That was also after after a lot of pressures. And there is no reason why China should try now sign a treaty with India. So India may keep on saying that we need to sign a treaty with China, and so we do that. And most of the international pressures on this, there is an international, international water course treaty and all, but they hardly hold, literally they hardly hold water.
Okay.
So we cannot take China to International Court of Arbitration without a treaty. There's no way China can sign a treaty. So we are in a soup right now. What we can just do is to have a joint committee which looks at the environmental impacts of dams which are happening in China, and just keep on pushing that we need a treaty in the international forum.
Okay. Okay.
So, but if you look at China and if you look at India and Bangladesh, I don't think we are treating them very fairly.
Okay. Okay.
So, wherever we are the upper aggregate, we are taking advantage of that. China is doing the same on a larger scale, but it's doing the same.
Okay.
We do the same when it comes to a dam in upstream and downstream.
Upstream and downstream.
Nashik does the same thing to Aurangabad. So it is a big problem. But, international water treaties and international water law is a very wonderful subject. Again, a lot of scope to get into it.
This is just an imaginary kind of a situation that with the privatization of water, that may resolve these problems. Means, as a policy analyst, not at all.
Because basically, water is not a private resource.
Not
water
a private resource.
Like it's like saying, can you privatize air? It is not a. It just not only belongs to humans; it belongs to the entire living world and also non-living world.
Okay.
So any move towards privatizing, water pricing and water supply and distribution is different. You have to water supply, distribution, purification, those are services. You do charge for those services. But water itself, the availability of water, it will be a disaster if you try and privatize it. We've seen it in what happens in US. We've seen US literally drank up entire Colorado. Not a single drop was going to Mexico.
Okay.
And if you look at the water rights, the way they work in US, it's a person in Utah is right upstream Colorado can actually sell his water rights to someone in California, like way downstream. Very, very. I think we are not. If our cultural significance has any bearing, then we should not make water a private resource.
Okay. Just we are at a concluding this thing because as a concluding question, I would like to ask you that majority of the questions which we discussed, it is like a dark cloud. To some extent, reason is not very hurtful. But every dark cloud has a silver lining. As a policy analyst, as a researcher in this field, how do you look at water management 25 years down the line? Find there is any ray of hope, something on which we can really depend or harp on. What is your, in a way, like forecasting that future?
Yeah, well, I think the rays of hopes are sitting right in front of me. I think we do need a paradigm shift to the way that we are treating rivers, especially rivers and groundwater in India. And again, like I said, not everything is dead. Just here we have a river called Kasadi, just in a most polluted part, which also gets polluted chemical pollution, which has amazing number of fish and which has fisher people who are trying to protect that river. In Pune, you have several groups who have been going to the river for years on Sunday, talking with the authorities, with people like Chavan. We have small person state who is with everywhere that you go, there are river groups, there are people who are working on the rivers not for publicity, not for name, not for money, only because they have this connection with the river. And that is happening, and I've seen it everywhere. In Maharashtra, even if you take a small Mula Mutha river, which is so polluted, you go to the origin of Mula and Mutha, it's still a very beautiful river. It's still so. We have free flowing rivers in Maharashtra also, even in this such a drought affected state. We have, free flowing rivers. We have sacred groves, we have fish sanctuaries. So I think, I very honestly think that rivers in India are like us people. They're very complicated, they're very frustrating at times, you get very irritated with them. But they're still very beautiful. And there's a lot of chaos and there's still a lot of opportunity in them. And absolutely a lot of hope. There's no way that we can give up. And it's not true that all rivers are polluted and dammed and dirty. I would really request most of you to try and go to the origin of the rivers that you call your own. And just see how we change our rivers. It's
couple like that कहता है आकाश में छेद नहीं होता एक पत्थर पर तबीयत से अच्छा लगेगा
अभी हम here sitting in Bhima, go to Bhima, it's so beautiful. Still scope, lot of hope, need to work. And Narendra Tagore always said that do that sort of work which gives you joy.
Joy.
If you get a lot of joy in that work, do it. Don't do it for anything else, not for money, for publicity, for name. That's not going to stay with you. You're going to have fun, then working on the rivers and working for environment is a very joyful thing actually.
Exactly.
It's a bit frustrating, but it connects you to nice people, it gives you a lot of joy. Gives you a sense of purpose.
And basically, it connects you with the nature.
With the nature, we are a part of it. I mean, see, I'm 70% made up of water with Mula and Mutha. Where can I go? It's still there.
Definitely all the participants, though they are participating virtually, but definitely the takeaway emotions will be this particular
Discussion holds a lot of water. And on occasion of this World Water Day.
I really please request you, please do join environmental law and litigation. It's very frustrating, but it's fantastic. I mean, you also get to...
Such kind of frustration will enrich your life.
It will enrich your life and it will be really meaningful and it's really needed. There are hardly any people working there, so...
Okay, we are at a concluding note, so I'm really thankful to Parineeta ma'am. So, for sparing your valuable time and enlightening us on this very important and valuable subject and sensitizing us. I'm also thankful to both the institutes who jointly organized this program. So I'm thankful to our principal, Dr. Shashikant Hadare sir, our principal of Army Law College. I'm thankful to Vikas Sharma sir, who is chairman of College Development Committee of Army Law College. I'm also thankful to Dr. Kranti Deshmukh ma'am, principal of Shankarrao Chavan Law College, and Principal P.G. Dadav sir, executive president of Marathwada Mitra Mandal, and the pillar for Marathwada Mitra Mandal's
entire education society. So all the managing committee members of both the institutes and all the students and participants who made this particular event really meaningful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.